welcome back to the Tea and a Buddy podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be talking about produce in the UK and the US.
Dun dun dun!
Yes, all the produce. Yeah, the different kinds, different words, the different things that you can find.
Price differences.
Oh, the price differences, yeah. All the differences. Well, price differences is, it should be about the same now because all the prices are going up.
Yeah.
Gas prices affect produce prices. So
yeah, they affect all the prices.
Gas prices rising, then, the transport, then they're going to cost more to ship. And so, it's a knock-on effect, really.
I just saw something, this is off topic but on topic. I think the people were in Denmark or somewhere.
Denmark?
They were not in Britain. But they were it was a YouTube channel, and they were talking about that the price of avocados is astronomical over there right now because, of course, avocados don't grow anywhere around there.
Yeah,
naturally, so they have to be
hot country.
They have to be shipped all the way over, and
there you go.
And so it's just the price is out of this world.
Astronomical.
It's quite expensive even here, and Mexico.
Yeah.
They're grown in Mexico, and it's literally like just a few miles away.
That's the thing, because that's one thing that you don't commonly see. You were just talking before we started recording of I don't know what's not common in the UK that is common over here, and it's avocados. Avocados aren't that common.
Yeah, you guys. Okay, we're gonna give you a little bit.
They weren't anyway.
We're gonna give you a little bit of truth right now. We had this idea for this podcast like eons ago, and we made the
years ago,
and we made the note for the podcast, based on things that we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Different produce that exists in Britain but doesn't exist in America and vice versa. Okay. We didn't make notes of those things that we were talking about, and now neither of us can remember those things. And when I've Googled, there's no articles where anybody's talking about... And of course you can find anything pretty much in either country,
Yeah.
that you're looking for. You're just going to pay an import tax.
Yeah.
But there are things that are just more common. There's more of them, and you automatically see them and notice them when you're in the grocery store and go, oh, let's get some squash, or let's get some whatever, whereas the things... if you're in the UK and you're looking for specific things that might be more common here in the United States, you have to look a bit harder to find them. Like you said, avocados, I don't remember them being so, readily just out when I was last in Britain, though.
No, that being said, the first time I ever really noticed them, because I never eat them, I don't like them, so when I go to the grocery store, I'm not looking for them.
Yeah.
But I did see them when we were last in Britain, and they did have a handy... And they were loose.
Yes, yeah.
They were loose.
Now I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, they were loose.
This is a difference. This is a difference in Britain and America. I don't know why we don't do this over here.
In our grocery stores, like H-E-B and stuff in Texas, they just throw the avocados into a box, and it's
yeah.
fend for yourself, grab which one, because everybody's kind of oh, is this too...
Yeah.
How long is this going to take to ripe? Squeezing them to see if they're ripe. Ooh, that's not going to be ripe. Oh, that's too soft. That's overripe.
Yeah, yeah.
But in Asda, I think it was. Maybe it was Tesco.
I don't remember.
You were saying, oh, I want to make some guacamole. And I was like, oh, you're probably not going to find avocados here. That's a bit too exotic and stuff like that. And I turned around and there they were. And it's just as if by magic.
Mm.
And they were in 3 kind of sets. There was signs above them that said, oh, not ripe.
Yeah.
About to get ripe. And ripe,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was and you were oh, that's handy.
They kind of do that with bananas here in some places, use today, wait until tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. But with avocados, no, they're all just shoved into one huge thing.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And that's the thing, I remember you saying, I said, oh, yeah, look at that. They're all, they're divided into, because you're always complaining that, I can't find a good one. that, you know, a good avocado or a couple of avocados that are just right, because everybody makes that joke of like they're ripe for like 2 seconds and then that's it. They can't use them anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And they're not ripe, you can't use them, and then when they're overripe, that's it, you know, throw them away.
That meme is like waiting. Now too late.
Yeah, now too late, yeah. And I mean, yeah, so I don't know how they do it in the UK. I mean, I don't know if they're still doing it. And that was the first time I've actually seen loose veg on, because, you know, in supermarkets,
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
the plastic use, well, in the UK, the plastic use is kind of crazy. And I mean, they're getting on board with, like, ditching that now.
Yeah, because I've seen so many British people complain about it. They're just like, this is ridiculous. There's no reason for this, you know? Like,
Well, yeah,
everything's
no.
individually wrapped, and
You
there's
know, like
so
you'll have
much
like
plastic.
you'll have like 4 apples or 4 tomatoes in thing, or you'll have bell peppers all wrapped in one thing, and you know it's all in a
Each
plastic,
bell pepper's individually wrapped.
Well, no, the cucumbers are individually wrapped, and you know people say, oh, that's to make them last longer.
Yeah.
You know, so we've got a little bird outside our window that's really peeling away. So if you can hear him,
also, again, we've left the ceiling fan on because summer in Texas.
he wants to be on the podcast.
Yeah,
he's just like meep meep meep. But there's lots of like there was lots of like, I didn't even notice it because, you know, growing up you don't really think about it.
Yeah.
But you I think you were the one who said, "Oh, that's so much," you know.
Yeah.
That's so much packaging, and you know, it was just like, and I was just like, well, it's just, you know, it's kind of
no, literally, like almost all of your produce is wrapped in plastic, like in little bundles, just whatever. I seem to think there were other things that were individually wrapped besides the cucumbers, though. Sometimes we do that.
Bananas had bags as well. Bananas were in bags.
Yeah, everything.
Grapes, you know, obviously, and
yeah,
grapes are in bags over here too.
But yeah, no, everything. There was something else crazy that was just individually wrapped. Sometimes over here we individually wrap cucumbers also. I think it's like the organic ones or something like that.
It's
I've seen them before.
There's an organization called WRAP, funnily enough, and they're like focusing on climate change and food production, and they made some recommendations, and you know, new research and recommendations from WRAP signal the end of unnecessary plastic packaging and best before labels on a wide range of fresh uncut fruit and veg in the UK. And evidence shows that selling fresh produce loose and removing date labels could prevent 14 million shopping baskets worth of food from going to waste and 1,100 rubbish trucks of avoidable plastic simply by allowing people to buy what they need. Because people are like, oh, I only need 1 tomato, but I've got to buy 4.
Yeah.
You know, because they're all in like, they've got like the that polystyrene plate, and then they're shrink wrapped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like kind of like they, you know, and they do that with apples too.
Yeah.
Well, some apples anyway. And they call for the removal of that. And apparently Tesco have been on its suppliers to like, go quick, you know.
Now that you've said that they put a best by date on that, I would imagine that's why they wrap it all in plastic.
Yes.
And I'm sort of wondering now if doing that prevents food waste, though. I mean, other than the fact that, you know, if you need like 1 tomato, you've got to buy 4, and so the other 3 are going to rot or whatever.
And at the end of the day, it's like, who just needs 1 tomato? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, I just need 1 tomato for this, and that's it. You know, and it's like, you're never going to use those other 3.
Because there's a problem in this country, and I think it exists largely around the world, but especially in this country, with buying too much, more than you're going to eat, before it, and not being able to get to it before it goes bad, you know?
Yes,
And so then you end up throwing food in the trash because, you know, it's gone bad and you didn't get to eat it before it went bad,
well,
you know?
yeah, that's a problem, yeah.
But then again, who needs Best By dates on produce? Like, you can just look at it
Yeah,
and
you
go,
can just look at it, yeah, but
this is good and
there's people,
this needs to be
there's
used soon,
Yeah, I vaguely remember, like, apples and stuff having a best before end and stuff, I vaguely remember that, But I
Yeah.
don't, I mean, and peppers,
Mm-hmm.
like bell peppers, they used to come in, like, little, like, 3 in a package.
Yeah.
I remember, because they had the white, red, and they were very cheap.
Yeah.
That was one of the things
And the
you always go,
garlic,
they're
like,
so cheap, and you can get 3 for, like, £1 here.
well, that's
yeah.
another difference I want to talk about. I mean,
Since
this
Brexit, that's probably not the case.
well, I don't know. I was just looking at this article. It was basing its information on a grocery store in New York City, which prices in the rest of this country are not comparable to those in New York City, But still, even in New York City, Londoners, which is also a big city,
comparable.
We're paying like half the price of what New Yorkers were paying for like a container of strawberries that was the same size in Britain as it was in New York.
Yeah.
No, is that right? Yes, it was $5 something for the container of strawberries in New York.
Yeah.
And even with the exchange rate, it still worked out to only be like £2 something for the raspberries in London. Which again, in London, you're going to pay more for your groceries than you would in, I don't know, York.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Well, in New York, in Manhattan, everything is raised the price. It's so expensive because the cost of living there is so high and people can afford it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in London, it's the same thing if you're, like, in dead central Westminster. I guess everything's kind of like, you can afford to live there, so you can afford to pay more for your groceries.
Yeah.
But, like, in the outer boroughs, like, say, I'd like to see, like, a grocery store in, like, Queens to somewhere like Tottenham.
It's still going to be a fortune.
I suppose it would be. I guess it's just capitalism.
It's still going to be a fortune, and
there's no regulation on that.
This article was also pointing out that the price that Londoners were paying for their raspberries was less than what New Yorkers were paying, even with the exchange rate, because you have to factor in the exchange rate. Like, okay, you're. Stuff over here that's $2 is only $1 in Britain, but it really evens out because of the exchange rate.
Pounds to dollars.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what the current exchange rate is. I'm just saying,
it's about level out. I think it's like $2 to a pound. I'm not too sure. It's maybe $1.50.
That is not level out. That's twice. You're paying.
No. It's not like hugely like. It's $5 to every pound, or £5 to every dollar.
So it might be like $1.25 to a pound or something right now.
Because it was back in the 70s, the exchange rate was crazy. Like the dollar was so.
The first time I went to Britain, I was paying like twice the amount for everything that I would have paid over here because the exchange rate was so crazy. Yeah, the dollar was so worthless.
The dollar became worthless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the 2005 something. I don't know. Was it the first time or was it 2008? There was like a big recession anyway.
Oh yeah.
So it was like that happened and the dollar just fell.
Yeah. And because you guys were part of Europe,
part of Europe.
The euro was like the most valuable currency in the world, I think, at the time.
Yeah, no, and I think it is still.
But anyway, getting back to my point, though.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The article was talking about, so even with the exchange rate, Londoners were still paying less for the raspberries, and that also included tax. That price included tax, whereas in New York it didn't. Although, I don't know if it's the same in every state, but we don't pay tax on produce.
Fresh produce.
Yeah, not in Texas anyway.
I mean, yeah, it's weird about what stuff you don't pay tax on now, because I think it changes, doesn't it? Sometimes it can go, okay,
it changes.
You're not going to pay tax on baked goods this, whatever.
No, it's always the same. But it's just like, it's sort of like the more natural and and necessary foods you don't have to pay tax on, like milk and produce and cheese and bread, you know? I don't know if cheese is included, actually, but...
Dairy, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, the fancy stuffs and the name brands and all of that. You know.
Well, they've raised their prices just because their brand visibility.
Yeah. But that does vary state to state, I think. So, I don't know, maybe they pay taxes on raspberries in New York City. I don't really know. You know, someone listening in a big city or New York City or somewhere other than Austin, Texas, let us know if you pay taxes on your produce.
I mean, talking about raspberries, they're not so... I mean, I don't really see too many products with them in. I mean, you can get them, but they're quite expensive, aren't they, you know?
Where? Everywhere?
In Texas, yeah.
Oh, yeah, usually
in the UK, it's kind of like, you know, they're kind of prevalent. You can get raspberry-flavored stuff, and, you know, they're all over the place. But over here, it's kind of like, you know, there's not so much... maybe demand for them? I mean, you know,
I don't know.
Strawberries and raspberries are quite equal in demand in the UK, I think.
Yeah.
Because of jams and stuff like that, but you don't really see raspberry jam. It's usually strawberry jam over here, isn't it?
Yeah, raspberry jam is more expensive.
It's more expensive because I guess...
It's because you know, it's all based on how far stuff has to travel to get here.
Yeah,
you know, it's
I
like
guess.
You don't grow raspberries in Texas, you know.
They do grow strawberries, though. I think this is...
Yeah.
Petite.
Strawberries will grow here. Yeah.
Petite in Texas has its own strawberry plants.
Yes.
And I mean, in the UK, you know, the UK is quite a fertile area for growing stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, like raspberries, and, you know, it's got the rain, and it's got the, like...
Anything that needs a lot of moisture. But not really hot temperatures.
Hot temperatures, yeah. You know, like the avocado doesn't really... I mean, people do grow it there.
Yeah.
They
a
can.
YouTuber that we watch has a couple of avocado trees.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
It's
and
possible.
They're doing quite well. So I don't know. You have to bring them in though during the winter, I guess, which is kind of crazy once they get so big. his are quite big, so it's a little bit like
just harvest them or whatever. You know, just take them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to bring the whole tree in though, or it'll it can freeze. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get freezing, but it's like, you know, the.
Yeah, I mean it does.
I mean, to the plant, yeah, I guess it would.
For an avocado tree, yeah.
I mean, apples is another thing. I mean, I was looking up, you know, because over here they don't have Cox's orange pippin.
Yeah.
And, you know,
is that a brand or is that a type of apple?
It's a type of apple.
Yeah, okay. Let's add this to the things to the list of things Dominic's always going on about. He's always going on about Cox's apples.
Cox's apples, and they're like half of the British production of apples are them. Over half.
I wonder if anybody's keeping track out there. They have a little list of all the things that you're always going on about.
Cox is on the list. He's talking about Cox's now. And the thing is, they'll know. I mean, if you're British, you know what a Cox's apple is. It's like, it's a sweet kind of like, it's just delicious. And I couldn't find it over here. And I was like, okay, that's weird, you know. But then I was like, oh, it's not really that. It's not known at all.
The funny
it's
thing.
not growing over here because it needs certain soil conditions or whatever.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? They were first developed and grown in Buckinghamshire in 1830.
Oh, there you go.
By a horticulturist named Richard Cox, and they were first sold commercially in 1850 and now account for over half of the eating apples.
Why are they called orange?
I guess because it was kind of like an orange pip. Cox's orange pippin, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not really sure.
And a pip, for those of us who have no idea what you're talking about.
It's like a seed.
A seed.
It's
there
like a
we
pippin,
go.
you know. It's like it's what they used to call. It's like the variety and everything, you know. But Cox's, yeah, that's all we used to get at when we go shopping and get apples.
Yeah,
and I vaguely remember
on about Cox's. Oh, there's no Cox's over
and they were
here.
small. And they were small.
Yes, this is what I was gonna say. Here's another difference, you guys.
The size of bloody apples.
The size of the apples in America versus in Britain.
They're like gigantic.
Is it just apples, or is it
mutants.
all the produce?
I'm not sure actually. I mean,
Yeah.
we'd have to take a cucumber, or we'd have to take something. Take something over there to my size referencing.
Take a tape measure.
I can just see you doing that as well, pulling it out in the freaking grocery store in Britain, going like, I have to do my sizing. Have to do my size comparison.
Tape measure in my pocket.
My size business.
And when we go to Britain, I'll pull it out and we'll measure, and then we'll make like little video notes. And then when we come back over here, we'll take our tape measure out. The same tape measure it'll have to be. And we'll take it out and we'll measure the produce in America, so we can go, the one in America is half an inch bigger,
Yes.
whatever.
Cucumbers and apples. Well, no, apples was the thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when I was getting these, I thought, oh, well, I'll just get a Granny Smith then. And I was like, all these Granny Smith, they're cooking apples, And you were like, no, the people eat them. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is huge. It'll take you 2 days to eat this bloody thing.
Yes, you guys, he freaking hates the size of the apples over here. Like, it's very difficult to get him to eat an apple because he's just like, oh no, it's too much. It's too much.
It should be kind of like just like a couple of bites.
Whereas me, when I went to Britain, and you're like, oh, let's get some apples, and it looks like a little baby apple, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'll eat all of this in one bite.
Well, there you go.
No wonder why they sell them four to a package, because you need to eat 4 of them to equal one normal sized apple.
No, it was just like I was eating this Granny Smith or whatever, over I think it was a Granny Smith. I used to buy them a lot over here. I never used to get them in UK, but they were like, well, the other ones you don't see are Bramley seedlings over here.
Which are those
Bramley
green
apples?
Apple?
Yeah, they're a green apple,
because
but they're a cooking apple.
A Cox's apple is.
It's like a red cold.
You're sure we don't have those? Bramley? It sounds a bit familiar.
Maybe there is.
Are they like a Golden Delicious?
They're like they look like a Granny Smith, but they're like flat, and they're a cooking apple.
They're flat.
They're kind of like flattened. They're they're huge. They're like a Granny Smith over here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they're like cooking apples.
Yeah.
They're very like flat and kind of like my grandmother used to buy 4 of them, and I used to see them sitting there, and I used to be like, oh, those look weird. And she's like, yeah, no, you're not supposed to eat them raw. They're cooking apples.
Yeah.
And they were Bramley. I think they're over here. They are over here, but they're very uncommon.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of stuff.
It sounds a bit familiar. I don't know.
Because, when you make an apple pie over here, you use Granny Smiths.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they're big enough. Anyway, they're big enough to use. I mean, Granny Smiths in the UK. Although that's not true over here. I've seen bagged plastic up apples, and they're like teeny. And they're like, oh, they're for kids or whatever. They market them towards kids.
No, you're thinking of the little easy peel oranges.
Yeah, what do you call them? Cuties,
or
what are those?
Or easy peel. I think
tangerines and satsumas and stuff like that. You don't know what I'm talking about with that, do you?
Of course, I know what a tangerine is.
What's
Satsuma, no.
There
Sounds
you go.
like a sumo wrestler.
Satsuma oranges. But there you go. It's like those are like satsuma's kind of like a little bit different to a tangerine. But yeah, going back to apples, Bramley, they just make cooking apples, and they were like, that was a new variety they cultivated.
Yeah,
and it's uncommon over here, but it's less uncommon than a Cox. I mean, no one would know what the heck a Cox was.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but Bramley maybe, because, it's like, oh yeah, I use them to make pies and stuff. Like Mr. Kipling's.
That being said,
it's kind of like Bramley apple pie.
Like when you go to, here's another difference. Right. When you go to H-E-B over here, that's our local grocery store.
Yeah.
When you go to H-E-B and you go to the apple section, there's like a billion different types of apples to choose from.
Yeah, there is in the UK too. You get like
you don't
John
have
O'Golds and
You don't have like a billion choices, though. I don't
I mean,
remember
I
there
think
being.
maybe not. I don't know. We'd have to go back.
That's one.
We'd have to go back and see.
We have to go back just to look at the apples.
Just to look at the apples. Just go to the grocery store and look at the apples and see what's going on.
No, that's one criticism. Not to do with just the produce, but with all of the grocery store as a whole. I've heard British people say there's too much choice in American grocery stores.
It's too much choice.
It's
Yeah.
like, there's too much choice. It's like what?
So,
But
I've heard that before.
I've been to the biscuit aisle in Britain, and it's the same thing. It's just different.
It's too much
stuff.
choice in all the wrong things. It's like biscuits and what else? Jams. And I'm trying to think of, and chocolate.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine. You can have too much choice in that, you know, but or like, well, cereal, we don't have too much choice in like sugary cereals.
No, there wasn't too much choice in ice cream either. I remember going, there's not that many flavors to choose from.
Yeah, no, because I think it's all to do with regulation. And then the EU regulation was like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that, you know, in like US ice cream that's not good. It's like, that's why you only have strawberry and chocolate Pop-Tarts instead of cookie dough flavor and brown sugar
Fruit
cinnamon
Loops.
and Fruit Loops, and because there's just so much like dyes and E numbers and whatever. And the thing is, that could all change now. That was one of the things I said when Brexit happened. I was like, yeah, if they do a trade deal with the US, all that stuff is going to flood the UK market.
Yeah.
UK is suddenly going to become too much choice.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I mean, with our rant over now.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on, back on topic to the produce. I mean, courgette versus zucchini.
Yeah. We're talking just words now.
Like words, yeah. I mean, they're all members of the squash family, are native to Central America.
But at the same time, you guys don't use the word squash, do you?
No, because squash to us is a cordial.
Yeah.
It's like, or it's a game, which is badminton.
Yeah.
I think, or shuttlecock, I think they call it, or badmin. I think squash.
Over here?
Oh, I don't
know.
know.
We call it, what do we call it? It's the one where you hit the ball against the wall, right?
Yeah, what do you call
Racquetball.
it? Racquetball, I guess? Yeah, racquetball. We call it squash for some reason. It's like, I've got to go to the squash court now and take out my,
frustrations
on. And, got to go to the squash court, then I'm going to have a pint of squash.
Yeah.
And it's like orange.
At the squash court, I'm going to have a pint of squash.
Yeah, an orange squash.
What do you guys call yellow squash then? You just don't have yellow squash in Britain, do you?
I don't know. I mean, surely we call it yellow courgette. A yellow courgette. In my yellow courgette.
Tell us.
I don't know why I thought of that.
Tell us some more about squash while I quickly look up yellow squash.
I mean, courgettes, zucchinis, they're all members of the squash family, and they're all native to Central and South America, where they were cultivated for thousands of years before European colonization. The plant eventually found its way to Europe sometime around the end of the 15th century, where it became zucchini in Italy and courgette in France. And a great surge of Italian immigrants between 1880 and 1920 to the US came to start a new life, bringing their zucchini with them. Because zucchini was easy for non-Italian speakers to say, nobody tried to anglicize it.
Okay.
And the name stuck. Meanwhile, the courgette is a relatively modern food phenomenon in Britain. In fact, there's no record of it existing in the United Kingdom prior to the 1930s. Courgette is, of course, a French loanword, and at first entered the Oxford English Dictionary in 1931. And so, yeah.
And when I just looked up what is yellow squash called in the UK...
What did you find?
Well, it didn't come up, first of all, but it did come up what is yellow squash called in England. And it says this vegetable is called a courgette in the UK. Both words mean the little squash.
The little squash. The little squash.
Yeah. So, yeah. You just call
just a little squash.
So yellow, green, whatever, it's all called courgette.
Courgette, yellow, green. Oh, there's another one, isn't there?
Well, we have like calabasa, but I think
and
that's
you have
like
spaghetti
a Spanish...
squash as well, and butternut
squash. Oh, there's
squash.
so many squashes. Yeah, there's a lot of squashes.
What did they, I mean, Central and South America, what were they putting in the soil to make this stuff?
I don't know.
Because I'm not a big squash fan.
No, yeah, you're not for some reason.
I'm not. I mean, I find it's very kind of like you have to put a ton of salt and pepper and seasonings on it to make it taste of anything.
Oh, it's so good.
And to me, it's very watery. Like, I'm cooking with it, I may as well, that stuff has got so much water in it, it's like...
Yeah,
I don't like it. Winds me up.
Dominic's always going on about the amount of water in squash. Put that on the list.
Yeah, always going on about Cox's pippins, the lack of Cox's pippins, and the amount of water in squash.
Yeah, no, I'm just quickly looking up butternut squash, and apparently it's common in Australia and New Zealand, but I don't see anything about...
I remember I had a tin of soup in my larder, my pantry at home in the UK, and it was like a butternut squash soup, and I'd never heard of butternut squash, so I didn't eat it. I think my dad must have bought it.
There's over 800 varieties of butternut squash cultivated in the UK today, okay? So
there we go.
So it does
End
exist.
of story. It does exist, yes.
Yeah.
I mean... But something you don't find over here too much of is watercress or garden cress, do you?
Yeah, no, and you guys love watercress sandwiches.
Watercress, egg and cress sandwiches.
And I'm not sure what watercress is. Do you know what do we call it in America?
It's one of the oldest known leaf vegetables consumed by humans.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watercress and many of its relatives such as garden cress, mustard, radish, and wasabi are noteworthy for their piquant flavors.
Okay.
So it's part of the mustard.
It's a bit spicy.
Yeah, because... My dad used to have, you used to get these, little, pots that you'd stick on your windowsill, and they'd grow stuff. And he used to grow watercress there. Or maybe it was just garden cress, but I think it was watercress, because there was water. I seem to remember there was lots of water in it. And, he'd pick some of that off to put on a sandwich or put in something, like in a soup or something. And if you just ate that raw, it's kind of spicy. It doesn't look like it. It looks like a salad.
It thrives in cool flowing streams. So it's called watercress also in America, which just tells you that it's not really that popular over here because I've never been shopping around the grocery store and gone, oh, watercress. Yeah.
Egg and cress sandwiches are huge in the UK. You'd usually get them at a party or something like that, where they're going to have, or a wake or something.
Oh, yeah.
Something that's required, with those little finger sandwiches, little roast beef and mustard and then egg and cress.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be like a platter. Mm. And I don't like egg. And, mixing it with cress isn't going to make it any better for me. But yeah, my dad used to like egg and cress sandwiches, so.
Oh, yeah.
Another one, garden cress is similar. You can grow that in your garden. It doesn't need as much water, but
Oh yeah,
it's quite. It grows all over the UK. I think there's a place in Somerset, I think it's Somerset. That's the capital of watercress, and they've even got everything's named after watercress or something. Parsnips is another vegetable you don't really...
No, I was just looking them up. Yeah, we don't... It's related to the carrot. But, and parsley.
It's white, like the carrot. Actually, funnily enough, the original carrot is white, isn't it?
But we don't...
They genetically modified that to make it orange to distinguish it from a turnip or something, wasn't it? A root. A root, because it's a root vegetable.
I genuinely think that I remember learning somewhere that they did it just because it was more appealing, just because it looked nicer to eat.
I suppose so. I mean, parsnips, when cooked, you can eat them raw, but, they're like carrots, but when they're cooked, they become a bit sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And, you can, cut them up. And
I think carrots do, too, really.
Yeah, but on their own. I think you have to, put something in with carrots. You need to make... I don't know. No, parsnips are much sweeter, I think.
Oh, yeah?
It's almost like a honey flavour to them.
Oh, really?
Because, when you can, roast them in the oven with a little bit of butter, and it's just kind of you cut into them in a Sunday roast, and it's it's quite sweet and delicious.
Yeah. Huh. I don't think I've eaten them. I don't remember eating them.
We've had a couple of Sunday roasts in the UK, and I don't know if you did. Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, the Swede
No, yeah, the Swede.
Which is a rutabaga.
I wasn't big on Swede.
Swede and mashed turnip wasn't a big hit for you, no.
No.
Black currants, though, you like the flavour of black currants, don't you?
I mean, it's okay. I don't dislike it.
Even though the federal government banned them in 1911.
In America, you
in
mean.
America, yeah, the federal government. That's the federal government.
Yeah.
You see. They banned them in 1911 because of the timber industry, because apparently they play host to some disease that completely screwed up white pine.
Yeah.
And white pine was big at that time. And now it's not really. Because, I mean, they stopped the ban in 1966, apparently. They relaxed it, but of course most of the states kept it. Because it was good for the, like, logging industry or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It was in their favor. And it's some people go, oh, you know, because of that, everything kind of like, you know, the blackcurrant was forgotten in the US.
Yeah.
Everybody forgot about them, and I'd wager to bet less than 1% of the population has eaten the blackcurrant.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they're starting to, you know, the farmers are starting to get back into growing them now, you know. So, you know, it's just kind of like the grape candy in the US is the blackcurrant candy in the UK.
Yeah, and they're not comparable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they're not comparable, no, because it's like that's, you know, because I mean,
I don't know how to describe the flavor for somebody who's never had a blackcurrant, actually. I mean, it's not really like...
It's not like grape.
No.
Absolutely not. Because when I came over here and I had a grape skittle or something once, I was just like, what? That is awful. And it's funny because in the UK, nobody really likes the blackcurrant flavour ones either.
Yeah.
You know, even though people drink Ribena and they love Ribena.
Yeah.
Which is like... where 90% of the British blackcurrant crop goes to is Ribena.
Do you just get blackcurrants like you get raspberries or something?
They can
you
grow
just get
wild.
them and eat them?
They can grow wild. Yeah, you can, yeah.
No, I mean, like, would you go to the grocery store and just go, oh, let's get some blackcurrants to just, like, munch on, like, grapes or something?
I've never done that.
Yeah.
No, but, you know, it's like they've always... Blackcurrant jam, blackcurrant squash, you know.
Yeah.
Europe
But you personally have never just had one.
I've never had one from the grocery store. I've had one wild, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they grow wild all over the place. So we've got a few other name differences here, like eggplant versus aubergine.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the eggplant name... I mean, aubergine is obviously a
color.
It's a color.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's purple.
Yeah.
In French. And it's a loan word. An eggplant apparently came from because, it looks like goose eggs or something, you know.
The shape of it. Yeah, it has
yeah.
to do with the shape of it, yeah.
Yeah, so they decided, it's the eggplant over here, you know. Arugula versus rocket.
Yeah, we say arugula, you say rocket.
Yeah, no, I always say rocket, and when I mean to say arugula. Over here. And because people don't know, yeah, can you give me some rocket lettuce on that? And they're like, what?
Yeah, no.
What are you talking about? Getting into weird stuff here.
And you said rutabaga is sweet. I guess I've never had rutabaga over here then.
It's not very common over here. It's not very common.
Rutabaga, but everybody knows that word, rutabaga. I think it's just fun to say.
like rhubarb is another thing. Is another fruit that's not common over here. That's in Britain. Rhubarb is so good.
I don't know how common it is, but I have seen it in Walmart, so it's not uncommon. You know, for them to carry it in Walmart. It's like it's not uncommon, I guess. It's just not something that I had ever eaten before I went to Britain.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said with the avocados, like you didn't eat them, so you didn't look for them in the grocery store. It's like I was never looking, oh, do they have rhubarb here? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because I think I've seen it in Walmart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like rhubarb and custard and rhubarb pie. And
it's not like a flavor like that. No, not.
They
like
usually do strawberry rhubarb over here because they're like, mix some strawberries in it so they'll eat it.
It has got to be a bit sweeter.
Yeah.
We like our sugar in America. We need sweet things.
Yeah, it's a whole different episode of the podcast.
Cilantro versus coriander in Britain. Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, I mean you can get when you if you guys
cilantro is the Spanish word for coriander. Yeah. Coriander, it's coriander all over the world.
Yeah.
But cilantro here because, you know, and it's funny because, you know, a few people say, oh, it's like, yeah, I don't know why they call it cilantro.
Well, what I was going to say is if you cook and you have used, if you've made recipes that call for coriander, you're familiar with the word coriander.
Yeah.
Because they call it coriander when you get it in a spice. Like they don't go, cilantro, and you go and get like a little jar of cilantro. It's coriander,
Yeah, because it can be a herb and a spice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
the dish soap thing. People thinking the leaves taste like soap.
Yeah.
I never got that. It's kind of it's a distinctive smell and a distinctive flavor, but for me it's never kind of like, oh, it tastes like soap.
Yeah.
It's
they say soap or here, I don't know if you guys have the brand, so it won't translate if not, but I've also heard people say it tastes like lemon pledge, which is a furniture
polish, yeah.
Furniture.
Yeah, we have pledge in the UK.
Furniture polish, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people say, oh, it tastes like pledge. I don't know.
Neither pledge nor soap to me.
It's a genuine thing, apparently. It's just like some people's taste buds.
I thought
pledge
pledge was ginger.
Yeah, I don't know.
People said ginger tastes like
maybe,
pledge.
yeah.
Romaine versus cos lettuce.
Yeah.
Cos, they think it's because in the UK it's because it was imported from the Greek island Kos.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's where it started. And Romaine, it was like, because it's a Roman thing.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. They're close to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, like you have a bunch of things on the list that you can find in Britain and not really in America. I could not find anything that you could find in America, but not really in Britain. What about mangoes? You have mangoes?
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there were things that I was like, oh, I don't see this or that here, but yeah. I don't know. And if you Google it, you don't find it. So if you've been to Britain and you've been looking for some produce that we have readily available in America and you've not been able to find us, tell us what that is, because there's nothing I can think of.
Yes.
Nor Google.
Tell us what it is.
So anyway, thank you guys so much.
We've taken up more of your time than you need.
No, they do. They need it.
They do. You need us, don't you? Yes. To get you through the long summer nights.
God, yeah. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. Be sure to check us out on social media. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'll talk to you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.